Here's Will shooting a video about inoculating logs.
What's up, folks?
Nice.
Getting her done.
So satisfying.
Yeah, oyster mushroom logs.
Very nice. Got your whole setup here.
I know.
Video coming soon, Honeybee Hollow Gardens, right?
Soon indeed.
What's up, guys? I had a day full of errands, so I wasn't gonna shoot a video, but then I kind of thought about the nature of the errands, and I was like, you know, this is very much homesteader life errands. You know, some days we just do absolutely normal things like take our kids to the zoo or, you know, do things that don't have anything to do with this lifestyle per se. But sometimes I'll look at my day and be like, wow, my life is really homestead centered and food centered and, you know, kind of simple natural living centered. So today, the entire list of my errands had something to do with the food that we use or grow, how we use it. Thought I'd bring a camera. So the first stop here, I've got some jars of broth that I made and canned out of chickens that we raised. And I'm taking these to a friend of mine who's not feeling well. So when I can broth, I usually do quarts for making like food, because obviously when I'm making soup, I'm making like a gallon of soup to be able to feed my family. And so quarts are definitely more useful. But I also always can pints for the purpose of having kind of single servings to use for drinking broth for an individual. It's especially nice to always have broth and elderberry syrup on hand during this time of year, and a lot of times I will make extra just for the purpose of being able to drop off with, you know, friends and family that are struggling and, you know, going through whatever sickness they might be going through during this time of year. Because having broth, homemade broth, especially long simmered bone broths that have a lot of collagen and stuff in them, can really give your immune system a boost and kind of help your digestive tract. So that's what I'm doing with that. I'm gonna drop that off and then on to the next errand. All right, next stop, picking up groceries from a semi truck behind a gas station. Like sometimes I'm out of town, and so I was like, well, if I'm gonna be here, I might as well. I'll move those Alright, just filming a video in the back of my car here. I didn't film the unloading process, because there's a lot of people here I don't know and I don't want to encroach on anyone's privacy. But this is my Azure Standard pickup. I've mentioned Azure a few times and I've had people be like, what is that? And so this is it. Azure Standard is there's a website, and it's essentially like a buying co-op where you can go in and buy organic and natural foods and bulk foods. First time I ordered from Azure Standard was back many years ago when finding organic foods in grocery stores was really hard. You pretty much had to go to a specialty store like Sprouts or Earth Fare or Whole Foods Market, which were much less common at that time, to get a lot of natural or organic foods. Now, to be completely frank, sometimes things cost more on Azure than it would be to just go buy them at the local grocery store. But like where I live, we've recently moved to a small town. Where we lived in Arkansas, we had access to more natural foods, but here our grocery stores just don't carry a lot. As far as natural options, we don't have a whole lot. So I can either drive into town, or 45 minutes, but with traffic it usually takes a lot of time, or I can order on Azure. But the way this works is, which there's a bunch of straw in the back of my car because farm life, but you order online and it ships once a month to a drop-off point, and there's a coordinator at the drop-off point. So you go on, you register for a drop-off point, you place your order. Unfortunately, sometimes things do sell out before your order ships, and so you kind of don't know until it ships if all your stuff is going to be on there, especially as food demand has changed and natural food demand has changed. So that's kind of inconvenient. But I will say I really like Azure, and I use them for a lot of stuff. I'll put a link to Azure down below if you want to check it out. And when we get home, we'll unload this stuff and I'll show you guys some of what it is that I buy. This is a service that I've been ordering from for years, and it's really helped me keep my bulk food pantry stocked, especially where I want to have organic stuff. I don't know where people have gotten the idea that we grow 100% of our food. Sometimes I see people say that, or people will see something store-bought at my house and be like, I thought you grow 100% of your food. I'm just gonna tell you, I know people who grow most of their food, but I don't know that I know anyone that actually grows 100% of their food. If you do, more power to you. I do not see that as being actually feasible with a family our size outside of an emergency situation. So if there was an emergency situation, we would no longer get flour and rice and beans and sugar and, you know, some of the convenience products that we like to have, some of the different things that we bring in, and we could survive on the food that we grow by repetitively eating a lot of the same things during seasons. Now, we grow almost all of our own meat. We buy very little meat, and what we do buy is just to have some variations of things we can't grow. During the season, we don't buy produce elsewhere, except for maybe I'll buy bananas because like my kids like them, or maybe I'll pick up apples or something like that. But usually we try to buy like locally grown fruit in season. So usually I'm not going to the store buying just a whole lot of produce, and then we eat whatever vegetables in the garden. And mostly we'll eat the vegetables that are growing year round. But like right now, the garden's really not producing much. As our gardens get more established and we get more in the swing of things, I will be able to bring food in from the garden year round, and we just eat seasonally. So I don't really buy a lot of produce at the store. It's actually funny, when we moved here, after like the first couple weeks, because I was having a grocery shop because we didn't have our farm going and we didn't have our freezers here, we hadn't moved them yet. I was having a grocery shop like for all our food for the first time in since I could remember, like a long time. I hadn't made meals like a handful of days, and Jeremiah was finally like, you know, Jess, you do realize you're not cooking vegetables. And I was like, I'm not. I forgot that you have to buy produce. Like I would just skip over that section because for so long I haven't really shopped there very much. But yeah, obviously still buying food. Let's go home and I'll show you some of the things that we're buying. I had one errand on the way home that I stopped to do, which actually my rice cooker broke. I got another one. Rice cookers are really nice because it makes where children can make rice. But this is actually what I went in for. That's when I remembered the rice cooker was broken. I bought another roaster oven. So I went up to my friend Amanda's last week when I went to pick Lulu up, which, by the way, there's Lulu. And we were talking about making broth. And I was, again, preaching the good news of roaster ovens to Amanda. She actually found one on Facebook Marketplace for really cheap. And they are easy to find really cheaply, especially a few months after Thanksgiving. You'll see them go up for sale on Facebook Marketplace, in thrift stores and stuff like that, because people buy them at Thanksgiving or for the holidays for cooking holiday food, and then they sell them because they take up a lot of space. But I needed another one right now. We are hosting our Wilder Still, or Abundance Plus party this weekend out here at our farm. And I'm actually cooking for quite a lot of people. And so I'm making farm-to-table soup, salad, and sourdough bread. And I'm using the 3 22-quart roaster ovens I have to make soup for that many people. But I wanted to go ahead and get some more broth started for my friend. And so that's why I decided to go ahead and get another roaster oven. So this makes number 4 for me. I have to store them in my shed whenever I'm not using them because it's a lot of space. However, I firmly stand by the statement that I have made many times. Like, a roaster oven is one of my top recommended homesteading tools if you are going to be running a homestead kitchen. Because one, it is a great tool to be able to feed a lot of people. If you don't have a big oven, like in our mobile home, the oven is not really large. In fact, some of my sheet pans don't even fit in there. This is nice because I can cook like a big turkey in one or a big ham. I'll roast potatoes in them, use it like a crock pot and make soup. But more than anything, for no other reason, making stock. So if you're butchering your own animals, making stock is a pretty important part of making sure that you're not wasting anything. And bone broth, ideally, I mean, sometimes you're letting that simmer for well over 24 hours, and tying up your stovetop if you cook multiple meals a day from scratch can be cumbersome, especially if you have to cook for a lot of people. So I've thought a couple of times this year, not often, usually 3 roaster ovens is enough, but there have been a couple of instances that I was like, I really could use a third, because I loan them out too, to people, to friends, and they have them in stores for good prices around Thanksgiving. Of course, it's a little more expensive this year than it has been in the past. I've seen them for like 20 something bucks in the past. This one was like 40. If you go online and you're gonna order a roaster oven, 18 quart is a little on the smaller side. That will fit a good sized turkey. I prefer the 22 quart ones just because, you know, I usually am using them for volume. But do not pay a lot for them. They should not be, maybe like $40 to $60 this time of year. You should be able to find a pretty good one. I've searched them before and people want like $100 for them. That's too much. That's marked up. So don't pay that much for one. And I would suggest, if you've got the time to look around, try to find one used first, because sometimes you can. All right, so I'm standing in the back of my car, which might be kind of weird. Now, I've always kept a pantry, like long-term storage pantry, short-term storage pantry, with staples. But since moving to this house, we have shifted into trying to have several months worth of dry food storage here at our home. And because space is somewhat limited, we have our shed that we are able to keep things in, and then also like underneath the beds in our house, in the extra closets and all that stuff. And I have a system, it's all there in my head. But when we unload things, not everything goes to the same place. So I'm just gonna kind of go over what I've got here. So as I said, there's lots of options at Azure. Kind of the way it works is that anything you buy, you can choose to buy one of, or a package of, or a whole case of. And obviously, the more you buy, the lower price per unit you're paying. So like one of the things that I do is, for instance, this is a 12 pack, the ketchup that I really like to use. So obviously we're not using a 12 pack of ketchup a month. So this is not something that would be on my monthly Azure order. In fact, I think this is the first time I've ordered it in a handful of months. Now what I like to do in my home, especially if I'm buying quality food like this that does cost more than say like just like the cheap ketchup at the store that's full of added sugar. Instead of coming to the end of something and being like, oh, we're almost out of ketchup, putting it on the list and going and buying another bottle at the store, I buy 12 at once, put them in storage here at my house, and when we get to the end of this, you know, if I notice we only have a couple bottles left, I add it on to my next monthly order. So then I'm getting the lower price per unit. And then like last month, it was mustard. I noticed we were almost out of brown mustard. So I ordered a whole case of mustard. I think it was the first time I'd ordered it in probably like 9 months, because we're not using that as much. We do go through ketchup a little bit faster. This does have some sugar in it, but it's cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup, and it is only 2 grams of added sugar per serving rather than the several grams that's in, you know, some of the more popular brands. So the Portland brand is something I like from Azure. They also make Worcestershire sauce, and they make mustard. This is a case of chocolate chips. 12 10-ounce bags of like fair trade chocolate chips. The chocolate industry is one of the ones that I don't wiggle on as far as like making sure that I'm sourcing something ethically, because if you've ever read about like the horrors of the chocolate industry, it will break your heart. And for me, like I bought that case, that's 12 bags, and I bought that now because we're going into holiday. So normally I don't buy a case of chocolate chips. That's just preparing for holiday baking. And because those can be more expensive, like if you're going into a store and buying the fair trade chocolate chips per bag, buying the case, you know, allowed me to make some savings while still holding that standard. So what they do with a lot of stuff is if you order it, they just like package it all together. So here's a couple different things. I ordered grated Parmesan cheese through Azure. This is something that was new for me. It's like a dehydrated vegetable soup mix. And a lot of times in my garden, I'll make something like this. Like, let's say like when your green beans are first producing and you're getting like a handful of green beans, I'll cut those up and dehydrate them. You know, if you pick a couple of carrots and it's not enough to make a meal out of, I'll just cut them up and dehydrate them. Odds and ends, herbs, garlic, onions, all of that. I didn't do that this year, just because the garden really didn't do this year what it's done in the past. And so I saw this and thought I would give it a shot. I actually got a 3-pack of these because, again, you know, just kind of some savings. I bought some baking powder. That was a 3-pack of aluminum-free baking powder. I got the cheese. Sometimes I'll get like dried minced garlic from Azure. I don't think I got that this time. Here I got a case of Monterey Jack cheese. That it's raw milk cheese. That's another one of those things that we do have our cows. We do make some cheeses. I haven't gotten into making hard cheeses yet because I don't really have a good space to let those age. And so that's something that I still do back from the store. I got a case of medjool dates. Not eating any sugar right now, and dates are kind of one of those things that kind of hits the sweet tooth. Plus, Maya's mom always made him date bars around the holidays, so that's something that I try to make him at least one batch of date bars. And this price per pound was a lot cheaper than buying those a pound at a time at the store. I got a bag of cane sugar. Buying organic sugar by smaller packages ends up costing more, so I save money by buying it bulk. Some organic brown rice. I bought some buckets and lids for food storage. So if you're gonna do things like buy bulk rice and you want to store them, say you're wanting to do like a more long-term pantry, what you can do is get Mylar bags, and it helps if you have a deep freezer and you have the space to do it, to put the whole bag of rice in the freezer for a couple of days. And what that's going to do is kill any insect eggs. I know it sucks to think about, to think that many of the dry goods that we buy actually do have insect eggs in them. If you were to leave rice or flour or cornmeal or cereal or anything like that in a room temperature situation in a container for a period of time, a lot of times they'll get bugs in them. The bugs are not coming from outside, they're actually coming from inside, they're hatching. I know that freaks people out, but the reality is, like, we're used to the idea of sifting our flour. Yes, that does make it light and airy. That actually started because people were sifting the insects out of their flour. And actually, we're very freaked out by that, but in other cultures, it's just something that's understood. So, if you buy bulk food for storage, freezing it for a couple days can kill any insect eggs. What I like to do is take the bag, let it come to room temperature, open so that there's not any condensation, it doesn't get wet, and once it's room temperature, then I like to put it in Mylar bags, seal them, and then store them in 5-gallon buckets with lids. There are lids called Gamma lids. That's what I get from Azure. That just ensures longer term storage. It's protecting it from water and air and all of that, but you could just use a regular lid that comes with a 5-gallon bucket at the store also. Honestly, I ordered those buckets from Azure because I like that they're solid white. I mean, they don't have any logos printed on them. That doesn't really matter that much, but I always forget to get buckets when I go to the store. Like when I go to Tractor Supply or whatever. This is a 10-pound box of raisins, which this is my first time buying this. I'll tell you what I'm planning to do as far as storing these, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it'll be fine. I've just never done it before. We have a lot of kids, so we go through food faster, so I can buy bulk in certain things, but I don't know that we're really going to go through 10 pounds of raisins while they're still fresh. So I think what I'm going to do is break these up into I'll probably break it up into 4 packages because I do think we can go through 2.5 pounds of raisins while it's still fresh. And I'm just going to vacuum seal them into 2.5, maybe I'll do 5 packages, so 2 pounds each. And then we'll use these either just for the kids snacking, or I can put them in individual baggies and stuff for lunch, in oatmeal, and in baking. So this is also going to be some in holiday baking. I did get a case of fruit spread. It's like a fruit spread that doesn't have any sugar added. I made a lot of jam and jelly this year in spring and into summer. When the strawberries came in, I made, I don't know, probably like 40 pints or something like that. And then the peaches came in. I did a whole bunch of peach preserves. Fruit spread here was just to have another flavor. That wasn't necessary. That was kind of one of those things where I say, sometimes I buy things just for variation. Could we just eat what we produced ourselves or processed ourselves from local stuff? Yes, but it's nice sometimes to have variation. And if you have the option, you know, it's okay. All right, last box here. I got this really big package of macaroon fine shredded coconut. Unsweetened organic coconut. This is for holiday baking, so that's what that's for. I don't know why I bought these. I'm trying to remember what was in my mind and the idea I had for these. These are dried lemons. They smell amazing. I opened this box and it was like joy came spilling out. I had an idea and it's completely escaping me right now what I was gonna do with that. It says try stewing these lemons in sugar and place them on top of your cakes, muffins, tarts, and other desserts, or break the lemon slices into small pieces and add to dried fruit mixes, trail mix, or snack on them all by themselves. So I can be sure that I wasn't planning on doing the earlier things because while I'm not eating sugar, I'm not making lots of plans for cakes, muffins, tarts, and other desserts. But I mean, I'm obviously buying some stuff for holiday baking, but I think I just imagined these being something that might be nice to have. I don't know. I cannot remember. Sometimes I'll be in bed at night when it's kind of late and I'm kind of tired, and that's when I do like shopping for things like this, and it's not always the best thing. Sometimes I end up with things that I'm like, what was the logic here? They smell amazing. I could have obviously made these myself, but with the time that it would have taken to, one, purchase lemons, these are organic lemons, slice them, dehydrate them, like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay that I bought these, even if it is a little bit of a mystery. This is another thing that wide awake and fully logical Jess probably would not have made this decision, because these are currant raisins, currants, and I probably wouldn't have bought a pound of these and 10 pounds of raisins, but I usually use currants in my carrot cake recipe, and I was thinking of that for Thanksgiving. Now, logically, I would have, had I thought about that more, I probably would have used the raisins, but whatever. I got some coconut sugar, a big thing of baking soda, which I really don't need. I have plenty of baking soda. Again, oh, this is the box of my illogical decisions, but here we are. So I'm going to take these, some of these things are going to go to the shed fridge, and I'm going to disperse them to the different places of the house where I store them all. And yeah, that's what I bought from Azure this week. It looks different every time. For me personally, the way I shop is I tend to buy more bulk. Like I buy the case. Because for me, if I can get ahead on my grocery budget, like at this point I've been buying the case long enough that I can stay on top of that. So I don't need everything at once. It's harder when you're first starting out buying like this because you're gonna still have to buy some things in just like ones or twos, because to buy everything in bulk at once would be just astronomical. And then also it's all gonna start, you're gonna use it up and it's all gonna come up to needing to be replaced at the same time. So for me it's staggered. Like now I got the sugar and the rice and the ketchup, and you know, last month we got lots of dried beans and we got mustard and you know, different things like that. This time I bought a case of that cheese. Like I don't need that cheese again for a couple of months. And next month I might get a case of a different kind of cheese. And you see, we just stagger all of these things. We always have a really stocked pantry and we're able to save that money. Yeah, that's my Azure shopping. I think people like stuff like this. I watch videos where people share ideas on how to shop like this, but I've never really shared stuff. So give me some feedback. What do you think? Do you like seeing things like, if it's helpful and enjoyable to you, I'm glad to continue to share. Yeah, I will also, like I said, I'll put a link down below. I don't have like an affiliate link with Azure. I think they have those. I don't have one, but I do have a referral link. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I wish you could help me carry this in, but alas, I'll handle it. I bless you. Until next time.